It's time for the Pittsburgh Sports Reporters, an inside look at your teams in your city.
I'm with Tim Benz of 105.9 The X and Steelers Radio Network and Stan Savran of 970 ESPN. Stan, let's start with you. The Pirates, since we talked last, two big deals. The Marlon Byrd deal on Tuesday with John Buck, and then the big one I think that surprised people Saturday, right before the playoff roster deadline, getting Justin Morneau. Everybody's using the term all in. I don't know that that's the right term. Give us your thoughts on the deals.
Well, I was shocked, and that's just surprised at Justin Morneau because I figured, this is going to be good enough. And maybe because Garrett Jones had the big game. So I've always felt if they could get a bat either at first or either at right field, they could live with the other position. And I still felt that way. It should be a tremendous acquisition. I always worry about, is it too much? It's a game played by individuals as a team, but I just wonder, is it too much? But
meaning chemistry.
Yes, to a degree. Yes, to a degree.
Tim, chemistry, does it matter?
I'm not as worried about it, to be honest with you. I'm not as worried about chemistry. I agree with what Stan said about if you can get one, you can live with the other. You can't overhaul everything at this late stage, but it does give them the boost that they, I think, need to balance out that order, or as Clint Hurdle likes to say, to lengthen the batting order and stretch it out.
Except, I'm sorry, he's not doing it right. I got to get this in. Now that you've got Morneau here, you have got to drop Alvarez out of the cleanup spot. You've got to drop him.
Against lefties.
Against anybody. Justin Morneau hits 40 points higher than he does. He's got a better at-bat per RBI ratio without the home runs. I want a more consistent batting cleanup. I don't think Pedro psychologically is cut out to hit cleanup. He's much more dangerous, I think, hitting fifth or sixth in that lineup. Then that drops Russell Martin where he ought to be. And then maybe against left-handers, maybe if you're going to play Morneau, you bat Byrd cleanup, and then Morneau fifth and Pedro sixth. And I know he wants to go righty-lefty, righty-lefty, but I'm sorry, Justin Morneau, if he's here, he's got to bat cleanup. Pedro's got to bat sixth.
I'll take the other side of that and say against righties, I don't have any problem there because then you've got righty with Byrd batting 5 and Morneau 6. I like it. Against righties, against lefties, I'm keeping Gabby Sanchez in there. He's basically got an OPS around 1,000, an on-base percentage of 440. Justin Morneau is going to be a platoon guy at first base. The way the Pirates are going, that's 5 days a week. He's getting out there. And then for now, with Marte out, you platoon Garrett Jones and Jose Tabata, who's been the most vexing player in the Pirates for the year, Tim.
Vexing? I mean, I actually think he's been all right since he's been
great,
back.
Right, for the last 3 weeks?
He and Walker have, really, McCutchen really didn't hit in the St. Louis series, which is a great thing that they won 2 games and really didn't get a whole lot of production from McCutchen, but Walker and Todd have been great. If he wants to platoon Morneau, that's fine. I'm saying when Morneau is in the lineup, he's got to bat cleanup, and you got to push Pedro down. You just can't take those strikeouts with men in scoring position.
I think Talbot is vexing in the sense that he keeps showing you just enough to keep you interested in him and keep you on board with what he could do, but at the same time, he's not someone that is consistent enough once you do commit to him. And then all of a sudden, you don't want to be committed to him anymore.
Well, once Marte comes back, he's not a factor, right? Because Byrd will be in right. And
the
Marte
one start a week or so, I think, for both Jones and for Tabata. Tim, on Pittsburgh Sports Hub, I put up a list of the last 25 games for the Pirates. We know they got two starters in AJ and Liriano. Charlie Morton has clearly made himself the number 3 starter. My view is you take the last 25 games, which is about, I think, 26, 27 days, and you just plug it in. Liriano and Burnett and Morton every 5th day, and you work around the other guys. The problem is the Pirates only have 2 off days. One coming this Thursday and one the Thursday before the end of the season. You game with that and roll Locke and Cole until you see that they can't do it?
Yeah. I'm all right with that. I think one thing that Pirate fans have gotten themselves way too caught up in, though, is trying to set up for either whoever their choice is, Liriano or Burnett, to be in the one-game playoff. I think people started to forecast that out roughly the first week after the All-Star break is when I really started to hear that chatter. And I'm more of the opinion that, especially when you're playing against the Reds, and in all likelihood these three teams are going to be jockeying for position all the way up until that last series, maybe a game or two out. I think the bigger deal is trying to avoid that one-game playoff. And
by the way, just how it works out on that scenario, Francisco Liriano's pitching Sunday, the last day of the season from here. If he, Burnett, and Morton stay on 4 days rest, he's got that last game, which will give the Pirates the flexibility of deciding, do they need him to pitch that last game?
So you're saying that the way it stands right now, he'd be pitching the last game, and then Morton would be lined up for the...
AJ would be lined up for the one-game playoff.
See, I would pitch Liriano Friday and then give him enough rest to start the game. I understand what you're saying, David, and I have no problem with that. But there is one amendment that I would make. Tomorrow night against the Brewers, they wanted to give Locke a little bit of a blow. Blow's over. I would take Liriano and start him Friday night against St. Louis.
Yep.
Normally, I understand he would then be on 6 days rest as opposed to 4. I understand you don't want to do that normally because it throws everybody else off, might throw him off. But when I see Liriano that dominant against the Cardinals, they can't hit him. They can't touch him. I am saving him. I'm not pitching him against Milwaukee. I'm pitching him against the Cardinals on Friday. I want to get that series off to a great start.
And that's a great point,
And
Stan.
I pitch Locke tomorrow.
And guys have brought that up. His numbers against the Cardinals are outstanding. What that does, just the way I did it, is I put Locke in on Sunday against the Cardinals to have a lefty against the Cards. The only question is then that leaves Liriano a start short on that last day if you need him. But I understand the logic behind it. Guys, football, big weekend for the Steelers, 53. Tim, most surprising cut for you?
Oh, Dwyer, I guess, just because there was so much, it looked like wrapped up into him. But it's pretty clear to me that, the coaches just didn't want him to be the guy. And maybe that last fumble sealed his fate. I do think it's funny that so many people were running to Twitter, running to the internet, and saying that Felix Jones never had a shot of making the team. I never felt that. I thought he had a chance. I thought it was always there. I didn't think he'd go in as potentially the starter, and I didn't know that he'd be able to displace Jonathan Dwyer to make it happen. But, it is something to get rid of the guy who was your number one rusher in the preseason and the season before. That, to me, is surprising, even though he's not that great of one.
Have either of you guys heard this, that John Dwyer maybe missed some meetings? The coaching staff wasn't happy with him, not only because of the weight issue. We all know the weight issue, but he suggested that he was late for meetings.
I never heard anything specifically about meetings. I'd heard about attitude, but not just tardiness per se.
General attitude. It's like when they finally traded Santonio Holmes. Then we began to hear about he was late for planes, holding up the team charter. Those kinds. It was more than just getting caught with weed up in the Hill District.
Stan, anything else jump out to you in terms of players cut?
Yeah. That and 2 that were kept. I was surprised to let Teamu go. He began to come on, and I don't know that Fangupo was that much better than he. And I really thought that Teamu was really starting to come on a little bit. The 2 keeps that I was really surprised at. I think Damon Cromartie-Smith is god awful. I don't understand why he made the team. They're fairly deep safety, relatively speaking, and I really thought that Curtis Brown had a real chance to get cut, which to me doesn't tell you about his preseason performance. It tells me about how poor they are in depth at corner.
Well, Tim and I talked about this on the postgame show on whatever day we were. What was it?
Thursday.
Talking about, we agree with you in Curtis Brown and his performance. It's his special teams that made the thing happen. Steelers made 3 moves in the past 2 days after they got to 53. John Malecki, the local guy, goes. I think a lot of people around here are sad about that. Good guy. He can't go to the practice squad. He's used up his eligibility. Signed 2 guys, a special teams corner, to your point about depth at corner, and then, Tim, they changed punters.
Well,
anything's an upgrade?
Everything. Now we can do the Z for a good pun as well. It's just they're trying to get in the Pirates marketing. That's all. I don't know. Drew Butler, I think, to me, was somebody that they looked at as they had to go with him over Mormon because they're basically the same player. So why not go with the guy who's going to be younger and cheaper and an easier keep as opposed to bringing in the veteran who might not be here next year. Then you're in the same boat again the year after. So they'll give the expatriate Zoltan a chance.
I think that the reason he got cut in New England is about $1 million salary difference over an undrafted free agent. This guy he's got 3 years experience. I thought Butler did fine. I know that they had concerns about his ability to hold. That was an issue with them. I was told that they were a little shaky with him holding. Now, something to consider: does this guy hold? Will he hold? And is 3 practice days enough to get him comfortable with Sweezum? I mean, it seems like, well, that should not be a problem, but traditionally they've used punters as the holder. Now they've got to get a new holder, too.
And Gradkowski being the other option. I'm with you. I don't think Butler was in the top half of the league. I think Mesko was in the top half of the league. Let's go with predictions. Steelers season. Where do they finish in the division? What's their final record?
I think they're 3rd in the division, and the absolute upside is 9-7.
I think I'm a little bit more pessimistic. I'm going with 7-9, maybe even 6-10, 3rd in the division, depending on how the tiebreakers go with Cleveland. I'm
going to say the Steelers tie for the division lead. If they stay healthy, they win the division at 10-6. Guys, great stuff. Tim Benz, 105.9 The X, the morning show. Stan Savran, 970 ESPN from noon to 2. I'm David Todd of 970 ESPN. You can hear me from 4 to 7. Thanks for watching.